I want to highly esteem you and let you know that we honor you. And by your obedience to God, like you teach me and SP in more ways than you can ever imagine. By your obedience and your willingness to honor those above you, you teach me, and I'm blessed by that. You don't have to be here at all. Like you.
Ambassadors of peace.
Welcome to Violent Men, Ambassadors of Peace podcast. I'm your host, Kit, joined by my other host,
SP.
and
Papa Bear.
we're here to bring you fresh content like we promised. This week, we're going to be covering a topic that we went over last week, which was giving without being seen. And the topic for today is actually honor. It's probably something that you've heard about before, but you really didn't know what it was. So the best way to figure out what honor is to first refer to the dictionary. So the first definition of honor is high respect and great esteem. The other definition of honor is adherence to what is right or to a conventional standard of conduct. So this is a really interesting thing to talk about because whenever we talked about giving without being seen, what you're doing is you're essentially not seeking attention or esteeming yourself. So whenever we talk about being a biblically masculine man, we're talking about honoring God. So this is really interesting, guys. We had a pre-discussion about honor, and what's really good about honor is once you start to understand it and really think about it, in one way or another, we've given honor to people in our lives. Like some of us, it could have been our mom and dad. Some of us, it could have been our coaches. Some of us, it could have been, when we served in the military. So I think it's important for us to hear from Papa Bear about his experience in the military. Because before we even started this, he was talking about how he was giving honor, but didn't even know it. So if you could, like, just start talking about
Let's go,
that.
Papa Bear.
Yeah.
Bunch of golden nuggets.
I don't know about
Floor
that.
is yours.
The
But
floor.
no, thanks, Kid, for coming up with this topic. We often we read it in the Bible, but when you brought it up, it gave me an opportunity to actually digest it and think about it, and then see where I wanted to know more about it, find out about it, and I did. I realized that the value of honor was instilled in me at an early age. So I've been practicing quote unquote honor, but it hasn't never really put a label to it. So
Yeah.
I backtracked and I kind of went back. I was telling you earlier, I went back into my childhood, and I was raised by a single mom that worked hard just for me and her to make a living. And I knew at a young age, I didn't call it honor, but I knew at a young age that my life was going to be either a reflection of honoring her sacrifice or dishonoring her sacrifice, depending on which, path I took, because I had opportunities to go south, right?
Yeah.
Well, then I joined the military, and I was telling you that the military taught me a lot and laid down the foundation for the most part of who I am now. But I was telling you that that's one of the first times where we studied honor, discipline, and respect. We actually had a course where they talked about customs and values, no, customs and traditions, where we spoke about they taught us respect, they taught us about honor, and in short, respect is usually earned. Usually, we often hear people say, "Hey, I'm not going to give you respect because you don't deserve it," but honor is given. It's not earned; it's given, and usually it's given to people more commonly of high power, or in the military of chain of command, upper chain of command. Not necessarily you're honoring the position, but you're also honoring because you know the sacrifice that a person needs to take to reach that level of statue, right?
Yeah.
So you honor that. You honor their sacrifice. You honor that position. You honor the power, um, to a certain degree. So, then got out of the military. Even though I gave my life to Christ when I was 12, I I left. I backslid, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But when I got out of the Air Force, I came back several years later. Me and my wife rededicated our lives to Christ, and right off the bat, I started serving as quote unquote a pastor's assistant in 2003 in in security. So I knew I told you earlier that to me honor comes the foundation is faith. Faith is the beginning of all our beliefs, right? Our we believe we have faith in God, faith that Jesus died on the cross for us and
Yeah.
saved us.
Yeah.
So it starts with faith. Without faith, nothing happens. So we have faith.
Yeah.
And then you come and you say, okay, I have faith that God called me to do this. And then you approach it with the heart of a servant to servant, being a servant,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you just take that. So first of all, you start doing things without even feeling it or understanding it out of faith, right?
Yeah.
And then out of that, you developed a posture of a servant, of being a servant.
Yep.
And then
Yeah.
you start to understand what servant is. Well, after that, speaking to you and then reading about it and digesting it, comes honor. Honor's after being a servant. It's extra where, man, I forgot what I was telling you about, but you start honoring, not just serving.
Yeah.
So, for instance, when you serving, it's easy to honor and serve your own pastor. But what about when you have VIPs or people that
Yeah, yeah.
or guest speakers or whatnot? You don't know their past, or maybe they're well known speakers that quote unquote their life through social media, but you really don't know them, right?
Right.
And maybe it's not always presented in a good light. However, you still have to honor them.
Yeah.
So you start honoring them, and
Yeah.
I've been operating in that like that, where I give honor and I serve not just with the servant's heart, but with the posture of honor. And I defined it. Not just. I don't want to sound like, oh, I've been doing that. I know it, because I've never really defined it, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But once you start digesting and you think about your actions and your trajectory and whatnot, that's I've been yeah.
Well, what is really interesting about your position on honor is essentially you started to learn about honor whenever you gave your heart to Jesus at 12 years old. You started off as a servant, and essentially you were positioning yourself to understand honor by serving first, because you actually have to esteem the person that you're serving
Right.
to some degree. Like whether or not you may like them or not, you're actually esteeming them and the way that you serve them, because then you start to learn their preferences, you start to learn what they like,
Yeah.
and then in some way or another, you kind of get like a different feeling about that relationship.
Right.
And for you, it may have started off in a way where you didn't really understand what you're doing, and then all of a sudden you started to reap the rewards from from realizing like, man, I feel different whenever I'm doing this servitude for this person.
Mhm.
And then I think when we were talking earlier, before the pod started, you had mentioned to me that like you started off in one position, and through time, you actually grew in your positions and your responsibilities.
Yeah.
It's almost like you got promoted
Yeah.
in a way.
Yeah. You mentioned. I think you referred to it as a reward, right? God's reward.
Reward,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, yeah, it's not a secret now that we all three serve in a security team, right?
Yeah.
And I always tell people when they join the team that their walk with life is going to multiply 10x.
Yeah.
So if you're faithful and grounded in God, it's going to be good. But if you're halfway in, halfway out, you're going to be battling a lot. Whatever, it's
For
going to
sure.
go
Yeah,
10x
yeah.
whichever direction you're in.
Yeah.
However, it's not uncommon for somebody to come into the team and just start getting blessed. And I gave you guys my testimony, but when I started doing this in 2003, I remember the pastor's secretary came to me and my wife, not even maybe a couple of months after I started doing it. And she's like, "Have y'all noticed anything different?" And we're like, "Well, what's going on here? Like,
Yeah.
what do you mean?" Like, she's like, "Well, we often notice that when people start serving in this capacity, they automatically start getting blessed." And sure enough, I don't remember if it happened before then or after that. I'm not gonna kid you guys. My income doubled.
No.
Yeah,
Wow.
like within that my income doubled. I'm not saying look, it's we don't nothing we do is transactional with
Right,
God.
right,
He
right.
just he owes us nothing.
But he does reward us, though.
But he does reward us and he does
Absolutely.
bless us. And
Yeah.
it's not
In his time.
it's nothing there's
Yep.
nothing wrong with understanding that when you walk a certain walk with God, he will bless you and expect
Yeah.
that. Like
Yeah.
we expect from our fathers, right?
Yeah.
Like me and SP have a relationship. I know he has certain expectations out of me
Yep.
because he knows like he's going to do this for me because I have this relationship with them. We're the same way with God.
Yeah.
We know who he is and what he does for us, so it's okay for us to expect blessings. So yeah, like thinking back, we serve in a position of honor, and that's why it's not uncommon to see us people that serve in our capacity to be blessed.
Yeah.
Right.
And not only are we
Yeah.
blessed, but we're looked upon with esteem with among our peers.
Yeah. Yeah.
How many times have you guys heard that?
We're esteemed. Yeah.
Yeah. So with honor comes responsibility. So you will get more responsibility,
Yeah.
but you will also shoulder more responsibility.
Yeah. And for those of you watching that may not be a Christian or anything like that, it's important for you in whatever position you're in right now. If you're working for someone, just know that in a way you are honoring that person by esteeming them in their position of authority. And it's important for you just to honor them,
Yeah.
just to esteem them. That is the definition of honor. One of them actually is to high respect and esteem. If you want a reward that's attached to honor, like we're talking about, it's a spiritual principle. Whether you understand it or not, you can benefit from it. So I'd be interested to hear your perspective on honor as well, because like we're just three guys here, and we all have the same beliefs, just different perspectives.
I
So,
think he might be in the same. Well, first off, I didn't mean to cut you off,
No, go
but
ahead,
that's
go
why I
ahead.
took the steps that I took for maybe unbelievers or people like I don't understand this.
yeah.
So hey, all you start off with faith. We start doing things because we have faith in God, right?
yeah,
And then out of that grows, and you grow into honor.
Yeah.
And we've had a relationship for the past year and a half where I've been mentoring you. For you to even approach somebody and then hold them, you got to honor me for be able to see me as a mentor,
Yeah, that's true.
right?
Yeah. No, yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention that because I think you've been doing it kind of like me. I've been living a certain way
Yeah.
and doing and holding certain values that I didn't know was honor. But it's good to define it finally.
And think about this also. Like, think about this just from like a human perspective. If you highly esteem the person that you're honoring, by being in proximity to that person that's in leadership, you're naturally being given knowledge that leader has that will help benefit your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you don't honor that person and esteem them, you don't view them as important anyways. And if you don't, what's the opposite of honor? Dishonor.
Dishonor.
Right?
Yeah.
How can you receive anything that anyone has to tell you if you're thinking to yourself, man, like I'm just here just to do my job and get my paycheck?
Yeah. Well, they say honor builds and dishonor tears down.
Who?
Yeah.
So you can't even be promoted without first honoring, because you won't even understand what it's like to be a leader if you can't understand the leader.
True. Yeah. No, I agree. That's funny that you said that because it's just natural because I have a sports background,
Yeah.
play football in college and all my life, like I guess you have to honor your coaches, right? You know what I
Right.
mean? They're the head. They give you the game plan, they give you the tools, and I'm honoring them by perfecting my craft and putting in the due diligence. So by the time game time, I'm prepared. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm honoring my coach and the whole team, for being prepared, and in myself too, because I have individual goals, et cetera, that I want to accomplish. But I think it's so funny because just listening to y'all in the beginning and like I'm started. This was a beauty thing about this podcast is that
Yeah.
I'm like I switched it up before what I was gonna say.
Nice.
I thought about something totally different because I was
Yeah.
looking back. So look, I'm looking back at my childhood now. I think honoring like being in sports and stuff like that, it came natural because you have to like I said, follow the coaches and stuff like honor them, respect them, all that. But I don't really think I honored anybody, growing up. I think I was pretty selfish for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I really didn't honor my parents. Well, I mean, I really couldn't because I don't have like a good relationship with my father
Got
and
you.
any of my family. Like, that's a whole different testimony and stuff like that I can share later on in the podcast.
Yeah.
So I really couldn't learn how to honor my parents or anybody else because I never had like that close relationship with somebody that could hold me accountable. So it's kind of like I was just growing myself up and just thinking about only me. Like my only goal was to make it into the NFL, right?
Yeah.
And I had nothing else. Like I didn't want to work at In-N-Out or Burger King or anything like that. Like I always told myself, I'm not doing that. I'm playing football.
Right.
But I honestly, like looking back, I wasn't even honoring myself. I was dishonoring myself because I was lazy.
Yeah.
I pretty much didn't eat. I didn't really put in all the work, like going to the gym, like what I mean, like waking up early, being consistent. Like I just let my talents just ride me into full ride at a Division II school. I could have went D1. I could have went to Oklahoma, but my grades was terrible, right?
Yeah.
Because I didn't put in the work in the classroom because I thought talents can overtake that. And then I had to go to community college, and then still, letting the talent, let my talents just do all the work. Didn't think I need to go to school and pass classes that I should have passed. But no, I had to go D2. So. But now, no. But fast forwarding to now, what I've learned now that I got saved and I accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, I think it really helped me a lot now because, like, the first thing I learned about, for the most two important commandments, right, is honor God, like obey God with all your heart and soul, like love God with all your heart and soul, then love your neighbor just as much as you love yourself, right?
Yes.
So I took that to heart. I was like, you know what? I'm saved. I'm gonna serve. Like I served at the church. Like I found a church home. I'm serving obediently. I'm not missing. I'm in the Word, being obedient, learning about Jesus, learning about why God had to bring Jesus to save all of us so we can live eternal life. Learning why He had to die on the cross. So in a way, like you're right, faith first. Like I had crazy faith in the beginning. And then I started serving. Obediently and learning about how to serve others, you know what I mean? And so I think that drive was because I knew that I didn't honor myself. And now that I found Jesus and I found God, like I just wanted to obey Him. I just wanted to, essentially I'm honoring Him with everything I do because I never learned that. And it was just such a beautiful feeling. And I don't know, like I have been rewarded, right? I'm about to be married. I'm engaged. You know what I mean? Like I have a community now. I have a family because I'm not close to my family at all. Like, but now I do. I have people that love me. Like, you're going to be the best man at my wedding. You know what I mean? Like,
Hey.
I have brothers that love me to death. So look, by me honoring God, right, and being obedient in the Word and serving others, like I am rewarded. So that I'm learning about honor right now, like just doing this. I don't know. It's just a beautiful feeling. Like I've achieved so much, and I don't know. I just think that for new people that is just coming into the faith and new believers, like it's good to like learn about all this, but it really just takes work. Like you can know about honor, but you have to like I didn't put in the work to get to the NFL, right?
Yeah.
I can't be honored. I can't be rewarded by God if I don't put in the work by being in the Word consistently, not just showing up on Sunday and serving and then not doing nothing, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
To follow God's commandments and being obedient. So it's good to learn about it, but it's all about putting in the work and being obedient to God. Like that's how you're gonna love.
Man, there's so much meat in this bone.
Yeah. Well, I got something I want to say
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
ahead.
yeah, yeah.
So I want to backtrack to when you're talking about your childhood playing football.
Mhm.
Just like Papa Bear, you actually did start off as a servant, whether you realize it or not, because regardless of our faithfulness, God is still faithful to us because He's faithful to complete what He started in us. And you're seeing the fruit of your servanthood and understanding honor because you had to serve your coach.
Yeah, yeah.
So you
Yeah,
started somewhere.
Well, that's
Yeah.
true. Like, and I think that's what really helped me too in coming to Louise. Like, I appreciate everything because look, what you go through, your trials and tribulations, like God uses that to strengthen you to get to your calling and what He has purpose in your life.
Yeah.
So I think building those attributes and being in that sports background and coming to Papa Bear and saying, "Hey, coach me," that was honor, like you said, but I didn't know it because I'm
Yeah.
just going off like what I grew up with. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? The attributes that I just like happily built.
Yeah.
And so by
'Cause-
doing that, I got me to where I'm at right here, right now. But you can go to somebody and be like, "Hey, coach me," but if I'm not putting in the work that you're like giving me the tools to help build
Right.
and mature my faith, it's not going to get you anywhere, right?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
the way I see it, you can argue that honor and respect sometimes overlap, but they are different because I believe respect is on the surface, and honor's deeper. It's in the heart.
Yeah. It starts with the heart.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
respect is in the heart. So you could approach me because you respected me, but since it's just a surface respect, I don't think we would have gone as far as if you. But you came with me with, hey, I'm going to honor
Yeah.
you and what you have to share with me, and I think that's why we made so many changes. Like we
Yeah.
can't argue. Like even you and I can look back and like, wow,
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and one thing I want to say too to the viewers and listening, and then what I've learned as well, you truly have to, to get the rewards and everything, like and to learn about honor and to be able to receive constructive criticism and just really follow God's commands. Like you really have to first like strip yourself like naked, really. Like you have to be humble. You have to humble yourself. You have to understand like you're weak,
Well, I
you're
read-
spiritually weak, and you have to be able to take that criticism, you know what I mean? And I don't know, because when I got new into the faith, like I just started like, man, I did it. I'm doing it all wrong. Like, I'm not worthy enough, you know what I mean? But I had to learn, like I had to really like humble myself, like, look, God loves you, right? You
Well, I
know,
read
really,
somewhere that honor comes from a place of humbleness.
Mhm.
So respect, like I keep mentioning respect, but I wanted to make sure we put a distinction there because how often are we quick respect? We often say it's earned, right? Because the minute somebody disrespects you, you're gonna let them have it, right?
Mhm.
But I think God is calling us to deeper than that, to honor somebody, and that comes from a heart being humble, from a
Yeah.
from a posture of humbleness.
Oh.
So when you're humble and you honor somebody, even if they lose the respect to you or disrespect you,
Right.
you can still honor that person,
Mm.
right? Because
There-
now
yeah.
now
Well,
you're at a higher level. God is
yeah.
calling you for something greater. How often do we see medieval movies of knights and like forgotten honor, right?
Right.
Forgotten
yeah.
honor, yeah.
And I
That's
think-
like that's
yeah.
a warrior mentality that a lot of people don't reach, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
And that's what led me to like be able to serve others with like through humbleness and like grace, and because I had to deal with my own stuff, my own
Yeah,
problems,
yeah.
and I had to make sure that I truly understand humility, and I truly understand like you're never really gonna fulfill God's promise if you're not serving others and
Yeah.
advancing the kingdom of God
Yeah.
through others. Like
Yeah.
I have to pour into other people,
Yeah.
but I couldn't get here today without me just being humbled and like
Yeah.
going through doing constant mentorships with you and just like staying in the background and making sure that I was obedient in the word. And yeah, I mean, it's a blessing, and I'm grateful
Yeah.
for it.
So what I'm noticing is I'm drawing a connection between both of y'all's stories, like starting off in one place, not really knowing what honor is, but at your base being a servant.
Yeah.
I look at the first definition, and it's interesting because both of these definitions correlate to one another, but it's like a progressive thing, right? So whenever both you guys were talking about servanthood, like you're serving your coach, you're learning about serving in the military, you're learning how to highly respect and greatly esteem your coach and your military commander. And whenever we come to know Jesus,
Yeah.
right, as
Yeah.
believers, we go to the second definition of honor, which is adherence to what is right or to a conventional standard of conduct. It's almost like we're growing to the point where we're starting to understand God's sovereignty. We're starting to understand his commands, really.
Yeah.
Because what we seek to do in honoring him is like what you're saying is the two greatest commands, like love God by being obedient to his commandments and love other people.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So whenever we start off at our base, highly esteeming people, we're really setting ourselves up to really fall in line with the adherence to his laws. Like we're able to love him by being obedient to his commandments, and then we're able to basically just like love people,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
they kind of, does that make sense?
Yeah. No, it does make sense. It makes perfect sense. And the way I apply it, or the way I see it, once faith, serving, honoring, and then once you're the way I see it within the Bible or within the church or with God is you're doing it with the reverence that you maybe, you can honor your governor or your president,
Civil authority, yeah.
civil authority.
Yeah.
But when you honor God, you do. To me, I do that with a deeper reverence
Yeah.
for like His holiness. Like He's a holy God. You know,
Yeah.
it's a reverence
Yeah.
that I don't apply to anybody else, even though I do give Him honor.
Right.
I think there's a level there when it comes to God, and that when God calls us to honor Him, I don't see it, and that's just me personally. I'm
Yeah.
not saying it's biblical.
So do you think the true honor really honestly, like, well, to me probably is like, look, honor God in all areas and circumstances, like he is number one, you know what I mean? But really, like once you get to like, like you said, first level is faith, having that crazy faith, and then serving, and then but the true honor is really serving others, be able to pour into other, like, other men, other females and stuff like that, like advancing the kingdom of God, like,
drawing attention to
yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah.
I think
like,
the truth-
Esteeming
that's
him.
what he wants.
Esteeming
that's
him.
what he wants,
Yep.
and that's where I'm at, like right now. I'm not
Yeah.
saying I'm at that, but like I'm really hungry to pour into other people, especially
Yeah.
men, just to give them my testimony story. Like I look, I'm not perfect. I don't know all the scriptures in the Bible or anything like that, but I want to tell you about Jesus. I want to tell you about God.
Yeah.
I want to make sure this God's commandments. So
Right. And what's interesting about that, bro, is like you, with you trying to pour into other guys and your desire to honor God and bring attention to him, you're esteeming him,
is that
you're adhering to his commandments to really like to draw attention to like just like his what he tells us to do. Really, like by your obedience, you're like a living testimony of the reward that you receive by bringing attention to him.
Yeah, and what I learned too, because
And there's promotion attached to that.
Remember I sent you that
Yeah.
podcast with Joel Tudman. You know what I mean? And who was he talking to?
Rich Wilkerson.
Rich Wilkerson.
Yeah.
And he kind of like put it in perspective for me too as well. It's like there's another level of
Serving.
like, serving and honoring
Yeah.
you can achieve. Like Joel Tubman, he was like discipled under Bishop T.D. Jakes, right?
Yeah.
Like he went over there and served and preached for him, but he really had to, like, he thought he had before him. He was leading a group of men at Oklahoma State. You know what I mean? He had a church and stuff like that. And people, he had a
Yeah.
big following. He had a good presence, right? But when he got over there, he had to humble himself. Like you know
Yeah.
where he's
Wow.
like, we're good enough. We're good enough to be where you want to be.
Wow.
Like he still told him, like, God's gonna bless you. He has a calling, but you have to strip everything that you think that is like you're doing right. You have to do the opposite.
Yeah.
and then you will reach God's promise.
That's
you
so
know what I'm
good.
saying. So it's like if like you or somebody like a high authority, like you have to be able to like sit there,
esteem
honor
them.
him. You know what I mean?
Yup.
You have to be like, all right, well, I'm gonna go to this other side so I can reach that other, level. And then look at him. You know what I mean? Now he's
Well,
like,
I
Well,
heard,
yeah, go
I
ahead.
saw a message by John Bevere
Mhm.
how he used to be an engineer, a mechanical engineer by trade. He left that to pursue ministry, and his first job was basically to be an assistant for a pretty well known pastor. And he went from being an engineer
yeah,
to getting his laundry and picking up his car at the airport and doing
Yeah. Taking kids to swim lessons.
swim lessons and doing
Yeah.
things that, like you said, like if maybe in the world you might see it as beneath him, right?
Right.
But he
Right.
humbled himself. And he's like, and he was honoring his pastor and honoring, he was in a position of honoring
yeah.
the person, and look at him now,
Exactly.
because
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
honor.
Mhm.
So I think the true test, it's easy. Like it's easy when you, like right now I serve a pastor that's younger than me. I'm his senior,
Yeah.
but I serve him just as much. Now it's funny because when I started serving in the capacity that I'm serving, I used to be the youngest.
Mhm.
Now
Oh.
I'm the oldest,
Interesting.
but I still do it with the
Yeah.
same posture
Same part. Yeah.
Yeah.
as if he was 100 years old, because it's irrelevant. When you honor somebody, you honor them, right?
Yeah.
But then the true test, I think, for you to know if you're walking with honor is when somebody might not be deserving, or that we might see him as undeserving
Right.
to honor.
Yeah.
Like somebody disrespected you
Yeah.
and you still honor them
Yes. Regardless of.
regardless.
Yep.
And then two, it's easy to do it to somebody in power or in position of authority.
Yeah.
But what about the people that aren't what about the
Right.
homeless? What about,
Yeah.
you can still give them honor. I
Yeah.
know people who have been raised by abusive parents that are honoring them now by taking care of them and living with them.
Yes.
And you can live with me. I'm going to
Yeah.
honor you
Yeah.
and put a roof over your head in your old age.
Right.
Even though when I was younger, you were very abusive.
Yeah.
Now that's honor.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because the
Now-
Bible says honor your parents.
Right,
It don't
right.
say love them.
That's
Yeah.
crazy because you think about it too. It's like, who did Jesus hang out with the most? Sinners. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
he honored everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he
Well-
loved all of them. Like,
Yeah.
he was just so perfect. I'm sorry.
The
I love you, Jesus.
we love you, Jesus. What I was going to add to the story about Joel Tubman when he was talking to Rich Wilkerson was about how his progression through his servitude to Bishop T.D. Jakes. He basically started off in a high position and got demoted all the way down while he was earning his doctorate. And then in the very end, what happens? He gets promoted. This guy understood honor. Now, in the same way, I want to give you guys like an actual biblical example of honor, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like practically to honor someone. So in the Bible, there's this story. If y'all grew up in church, you heard about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. There were three guys served this evil king. Basically, these guys were underneath an evil king, and in the Bible it talks about how they referred to him as Your Majesty. In other words, they esteemed him and they revered his position of authority. And where things got crossed was whenever this ungodly leader basically told them to bow down and worship idols. And they're like,
Yeah.
we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
We can't do that. And so what does the king do? He actually throws them in this furnace with the intent to kill them. And because these guys understood honor, the Lord protected them. But not only that, he rewarded them, because after they were thrown into the fire, they actually came out unscathed. The Lord protected them. And then what happens next? They get promoted.
Yeah.
Right.
They get
Yeah.
promoted. I mean, if you think about it, like God's kingdom it's kind of mind blowing for a lot of people, because in order to be first, you have to be last. In order to be promoted, like you have to put yourself low,
Yeah.
and you have to honor those, because God
Yeah.
promotes us. He is the one that puts, just like he put the person that you're esteeming in authority, he can also place you in authority.
Yeah. And, you know, we see that within the church because they serve. But yes, they're serving, but they're serving expecting to be promoted.
It's the heart
But they're
posture.
not
Yeah,
honoring.
yeah, yeah.
They're
Exactly.
not. They're not
Bro,
honoring because honor
yes.
comes from the heart, right? So you can be doing the action of serving,
Yeah, yeah.
but not having the honor attached to it, and then you find yourself never
Right, right.
reaching what you think
Yeah.
where you think you should go. And we see it all the time. People leave,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when
So
you come from a posture of honor, then
Yeah.
you don't even care about the promotion, but that's when the
Exactly. Yeah,
promotion
yeah.
comes.
So this was the second part or the third part of what I was going to say after we talked about what SP was talking about, and then I gave the biblical example. I want to show you guys what it's like to practically honor someone. So I want to turn my attention to Papa Bear.
Oh man,
I want to highly esteem you and let you know that we honor you.
Oh.
And by your obedience to God, like you teach me and SP in more ways than you can ever imagine. By your obedience and your willingness to honor those above you, you teach me, and I'm blessed by that.
wow,
You don't have to be here at all. Like you for those of you watching, like y'all might not know anything about this man, but he's a really busy guy. He loves Jesus, and he honors God by being obedient to him, and he draws attention to God by honoring him. And me and SP, we draw a lot from Papa Bear, so we esteem you.
appreciate it, guys.
We esteem you, man. We esteem you. So if there's someone like that in your life, for those of you watching, make sure you give honor. Just think about this. You'll get rewarded. It's a principle. It works, and you can apply it to your own life. But sorry guys, I just had to.
No, no.
No, we're good.
Yeah, no, I mean, I kind of want to say something too, but I
Go
don't want
ahead.
to, but
Go ahead, big dog.
I just want to say, like, I love you. You know what I mean? Like, thank you for, everything you've done for me in my life. And I couldn't be where I'm at right now without your wisdom, without your constant support, without your love, and just really just loyalty. And, you know what I mean? Like, you are a true man of honor. You know what I mean? You are. And I know, but the beauty thing about it is that you're humbled. You're not going to ever call yourself honoring, like a man of honor. You know what I mean? But like, I just appreciate you, and I love you, and like, you are like a father to me. So,
Yeah.
and you are going to be with me till I get into the grave. Like, I
God
love
willing.
you, brother. I love you.
Well,
Wow.
here's one thing the Bible talks about. So the second definition, I like drawing links and stuff. So the second definition is right adherence to what is right or to conventional standard of conduct. The Bible literally, one of the commandments is honor your mother and your father. Talks about being honored with life. So it's important for you watching to see what we're doing, because me and SP want the reward that's attached to honor.
Yeah.
And we're just looking at Papa Bear's life, looking at how he started, not even realizing what honor is, and seeing how he's been promoted through his own life.
Yeah.
And he continually is being used. He's grown it. He talks about this all the time, how he started off in a place where he felt like he wasn't even qualified. But in
Right,
faith,
right.
the risk that he took in doing what he knew to be right by God, he gets promoted, man. Like it's a direct example of how we should be living. So
And
you deserve it, man.
Yeah, and
You're the man.
And it truly starts with your like we say it all the time. Like every podcast, I think we kind of say, like, it truly starts with your heart. You know what I mean? Like, you can go up to somebody and ask for help or anything like that, but where's your heart? Like, are you doing it to get to that titled position? You know what I mean? Are you entitled? Like, are you just using that person? 'Cause at the end of the day, God knows your heart. You know what I'm saying? Like, so just make sure you're doing it with the right intentions and the right motive to it. Like, find somebody that's gonna be your spiritual father and hold you accountable through those tough times and be there for you through the great times as well. And like you said, like you're gonna eventually, like it's just gonna naturally move into you like honoring, and you're gonna see the rewards, and you'll see the blessing. You see God moving your life, because you'll start getting things, and like it makes no sense. Like, how am I, getting this promotion, or how am I, how do I have a kid with my wife when we weren't supposed to have, any babies? The doctors told us,
Man.
because you've honored,
Yeah.
other people. You've been obedient. You love God. Like you'll see it. Just
Yeah.
make sure your heart is in the right spot.
As a biblically masculine man, it's your responsibility, for those of you watching, and those of you who are trying to understand these principles, to live in a way that people would want to emulate. So in 1 Peter 2:12, it says, "Be careful to live properly among your unbelieving neighbors. Then, even if they accuse you of doing wrong, they will see your honorable behavior, and they will give honor to God when he judges the world." So you got to ask yourself, how important is it for me to outwardly show honor to others when we've told you directly about the rewards that are attached to honor? You got to be obedient, really. So for those of you watching, like if you've gotten anything out of this, I mean, you can extract from our prior topics about going from milk to meat, spiritual maturity. You'll know that this is another aspect of your growth that you have to really attach to. And if you missed our prior pod about milk to meat, spiritual maturity, make sure you go back and watch that. And if you like the content that we're putting out, go ahead and subscribe, hit the bell notification icon to be notified of when we have new content, because we like bringing it to you, and we feel like there's something here. So be blessed. Thank you for tuning in.
God bless
God
you.
bless you.
God bless you. Peace.
Man, you guys have-